That is the ugliest duckling I've ever seen.
They're not even in the race, they're not playing the game, they don't care.
Hello? There's the light.
We don't feel worthy, or that maybe somehow we deserved it.
Hello and welcome to Truth Be Told. So we have been exploring a super exciting topic this month called Light It Up. And so it's really understanding the light within. And sometimes we don't feel like that. Sometimes we may feel disconnected or feel like that our light's gone out. But the truth is that we are always connected. We're always connected to this power and presence, lives us, breathes us, moves us, does its dance through us. There's nothing that we can do or say that can disconnect us from this source, from this light. So our journey is to really remove those things in our lives that serve to block us from our awareness of it. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And really, that's what we're going to be talking about for the upcoming year. Is really taking a dive into these areas, a dive into these spiritual caverns that sometimes block our awareness of this light, and to really make a decision, make a choice to think a new thought, to live from a different space, and to recognize that when we choose to show up differently, choose to think differently, choose to express ourselves differently, we'll be amazed at the light that we can see. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Truth Be Told.
Welcome to this final installment of Storytime. This week, I picked The Ugly Duckling. I picked this story because there's a lot of elements that line up very well with our weekly themes for the month of December. At the beginning of the story, there's a mother duck sitting on some eggs, waiting for them to hatch. They all hatch except for one. She waits, and finally it hatches. And when it does, all the other mother ducks exclaim, "That is the ugliest duckling I've ever seen." And even the sibling ducks don't want anything to do with it. The animals on the farm and the caretaker, they all shun it. So this is what we talked about in our week 1. Who turned out the lights? This is when we talked about how from birth on, essentially our light kind of gets dimmed down by the people around us. And it's just to help us fit in, no fault of their own, but it dims our light nonetheless. Now right away in life, this ugly duckling believes that it's ugly and unworthy of love. So much so that even the mom says it would be easier if you were far away from here. So this takes us to week 2, where we say, does anybody see an outlet? We were talking about spiritual outlets to help deal with that dimming down that we pretty much all go through. The duckling doesn't necessarily find a spiritual outlet, but it finds an outlet nonetheless. And what it is to run away. And it does it a lot through the story. So it runs away, it ends up with some wild ducks, and then there's a duck hunt, and even a hunting dog that comes right up to the ugly duckling and leaves it alone. So the ugly duckling knows in its head that it's so ugly that not even the hunting dog wants anything to do with it. And I see that a lot of times in life. That's kind of what we do ourselves. We make excuses for the different things that happen to us. We don't feel worthy, or that maybe somehow we deserved it. I know, it's crazy, but it happens. So now at this part of the story, the duck wanders off from the wild ones that have been chased off from the hunt. It ends up on a farm. Now there's a prize hen that right away says, "Do you know how to lay eggs?" And the answer is no. And then it says, or the cat comes along and asks, "Do you know how to arch your back and purr? That's what the human likes about me." And of course the answer is no. So they know right away, well then you had better remain silent and out of the way if you want to stay here. And so the duckling tries it, and it manages for a little while until it sees the water in the distance, and it starts to feel this yearning within. It wants to be on that water, and it wants to dive deep. So this is our week 3, where we say, are you sure it's plugged in? Because this is the week where we talked about connecting to our higher self, to the divine, or whatever it is within us that makes us want to expand and experience more. And that's what's happening. The ugly duckling wants to be on that water. It doesn't even know why. So the duckling does what it does, and it runs away. Now it goes and it finds the water. It's autumn. It sees these beautiful white birds flying overhead. And it, for some reason, feels that it loves them. It doesn't know what they are. It doesn't know where they're going, but it feels this draw towards them. But they're gone, and it starts to turn to winter, and it starts to freeze in the lake. Now along comes a peasant, rescues the duck, takes it home as a pet. The children come running to see this pet, and of course, the duckling in its head thinks it's unworthy of love, so it sees these children and thinks they're coming to kill it. So it freaks out. It destroys the house. The mother has to chase the duckling out of there, and once again, it's out on its own. The duckling makes it through the winter. It now sees the return of those glorious white birds that it has seen in the fall, and it has to be a part of them. It knows in its head that once it approaches them, that they will surely beat it to death, because that's what other animals do, because it is so ugly. But it still has to go there. It knows that that fate is better than all the experiences it had before, and at least it will be in the presence of these fabulous birds. So it goes and it approaches these swans, and it hangs its head to accept its fate. But when it does, it sees its own reflection in the water and realizes it's a swan too, just like these other birds. So last week that we talked about how many people does it take to screw in a light bulb, which is finding spiritual practice and community. This bird has now discovered that it's not an ugly duckling, it's a beautiful swan, and it's also found its community, and now it is at home. And what a powerful experience that is. Now, Hans Christian Andersen gives us a wonderful line, the very last line of the book, and this is it. He then stretched out its neck and cried from the depths of its soul, I never dreamed of so much happiness when I was the ugly duckling.
Welcome to another awesome episode of Mythbusters. This month we've been talking about the theme Lighted Up. This week is Let There Be Light, moving from default thinking to creative thinking. So the first myth up tonight is that in any given scenario, there is a group of winners and a group of losers. Somebody who wins and somebody who loses. This is definitely a belief that I somehow got growing up, and I suspect that this is common for a lot of people. And a lot of times it seems true. And some of the times it might even be true that there are those who win and those who don't win. It's really important for us to realize that holding on to this myth is actually damaging. If we have a belief in this win or lose game, right? Because that's what this is. It's simply a perception that life is about winning and losing rather than being lived. If we hold this belief that it's about winning or losing, then we are always trapped in this game where we are either the winner or the loser. So we get caught in this idea, in this game, in spinning our wheels, trying to get onto the other side, onto the side of winning. When we realize that there's more to life than just winning or losing, when we realize that there is a whole experience waiting for us beyond this spectrum of A or B, this binary system of win or lose, we can decide we don't even care about the game. We don't even have to play the game. We can change what it means to win. We can decide that maybe there's no competition at all. So default thinking knows that we are either the winner or the loser, and we are always trying to be the winner. Creative thinking, however, knows that we are always simply creating. There is nothing to win or lose. We are creating our own experience, experiencing the result of our thoughts, of our beliefs, of our feelings, our emotions, and living by choice. It knows nothing of winning and losing. The idea that there is always someone who wins and always someone who loses in any specific scenario is a myth, and it is busted. So the next myth up tonight is that nice guys always finish last. And this is an interesting one because this also plays into that idea of winners and losers. If we are constantly in a race, we're constantly trying to get first place. We're constantly trying to be the winner. And so nice guys stop and help other people. Nice guys stop and do things other than trying to win this race. So once again, it doesn't take a whole lot to debunk this one because we've already decided, based on our last myth, to step outside of the idea of a winning and losing spectrum, a winning and losing perspective into a life far beyond just these two options.
Default thinking has us believe that there is some sort of competition going on in life, that there is a race happening where we are trying to finish first. And if you don't finish first, you're last. Well, nice guys who finish last, kind of interesting, that's only true from the perspective of the winner. Someone who is participating in this race. Someone who says, there is this race in life and I have to be first, and will use whatever cutthroat tactics necessary to finish first in this race. Well, guess what? Nice guys aren't even playing this race. They're not even in the race. They're not playing the game. They don't care. Nice guys realize, as creative intelligence would have us know, that life is more than this race. Life is more than cutting your way to the top. And they're here to help people. They're here to create more good. They're here to express in divine ways. So there is no race to be had. So the only way that nice guys finish last is if you're looking at it from the perspective of someone who's playing the game of this race, which nice guys are not.
You can stop and help whoever you want. You get to decide what the rules to your life are. You don't have to sit and play this game that the winners or whoever else is out there giving us that perspective have decided that we should all play. So the idea that nice guys finish last is also a myth. Busted. So this last myth up tonight is a really interesting one. It touches on one of my favorite topics to talk about, and that is toxic masculinity. And the myth is all of this machismo BS that gets fed to us in car commercials, truck commercials, whatever it is. The commercial that brought this up for me is a pickup truck commercial, and it goes something like, if there's one thing that all Americans can agree on, it's that bigger is better, or stronger, or whatever it is. I don't remember taking that poll. I'm an American. I don't think that just because something is bigger, that it's necessarily better. However, I do know that the toxic masculine man does believe that bigger is better because they're told to. That's what makes a real man is obviously a big pickup truck, right? I mean, what real man do you know that doesn't drive a big pickup truck?
Default thinking here would have us believe that we are needing to prove our worth based on our material means, that we are only as much man as the size of our pickup truck, that we must prove that we are worth something to this world that we live in, that we have to show what value we add. Well, to step out of default thinking, to realize our natural creative means of expression, it requires none of this. We do not require large pickup trucks or toys or material possessions in order to prove anything. We were born worthy. We were born worthy of a life of expression without needing to prove our way anywhere to anyone, especially to ourselves. So to step out of default thinking and into creative thinking, we must realize our own self-worth, which never comes from any material possessions.
Bigger is not necessarily better. All Americans do not agree. Busted.
So I think we can all agree that this year has been not only a crazy year, but a challenging year. A lot of us have been stuck inside a lot more than we'd want to be. But it got me to thinking this idea of being home. And it got me to thinking that it's kind of what the spiritual path is. It's kind of why we use these spiritual practices that we've been talking about, is to come back home. Not only in a physical sense, but in a spiritual sense, an emotional sense. Coming back home to who we are. And really turning within and saying, how do I want to show up in the world? Is the way that I've been showing up, the things that I've been doing day after day, the thoughts I've been thinking day after day, is that who I want to be? Is that the truth of my essence? Is that the truth of the light within? And really evaluating those things. And really, the more and more we focus on reflecting on those things, the more we come home to ourselves, the more that the blinders come off of our eyes, and we become more and more aware of, hey, that thought? Probably not serving me. That idea or that thing that I keep on telling myself over and over again, probably not pointing an arrow to my light and my essence and my divinity. So when we realize that, and that's what spiritual practice is all about, this is what we've been talking about, it's really opening our eyes to the light within. It's not getting the light or creating the light, but it's like, hello, taking off the blinders and saying, there's the light. And so that's the invitation. That's the invitation not only today, but tomorrow and the next day, is to become more aware of those areas in our life where we play really small. And I know as I've looked over this past year, I can see some of those areas, some of those limiting beliefs, those limiting thoughts, where I've really kind of put myself in a box. So the invitation, the challenge, the adventure, the excitement of a new year is really looking at those things and saying, how I've shown up, not really what I want to do. I want to show up differently. I want to be more peaceful, or be more loving, or be more joyful, be more reflective of who and what I am. So that is the really cool thing about each and every day. Each and every day, we've never experienced this day before. It's pretty exciting. And it's limitless possibilities. Our ability to create. And like we said before, we can create either by default or by design. And so I think I want to create by design. To show up as who and what I'm supposed to be. Who and what I was born to be. Who and what I am. The very expression of the universe itself. It's like bubbling up and bursting within us all. And that's the exciting part. And so each and every day we can live from that space. And in that way, we step out of this idea of playing small and instead play super huge, ginormously big. And what's really cool about it is we're all in it together. And that's what this community is all about. The Soul Evolution Collaborative is not about three crazy folks doing a bunch of videos. But it's instead understanding that we're on a path and we're all on it together. And we can see our light and then shine our light for others so that they can see it too. And then we can all play big. Thank you for being here, and an even bigger thank you for watching it to the end.
It's our hope that this has brought you some things to think about. If you would like to dive in deeper, join us in conversation on Thursday night. We will explore these topics and whatever else might come up.
If this message resonates with you, please click like, share, and join our Facebook community, and sign up for our newsletter on soulevolutioncollaborative.org.
This is just the beginning, and we are excited to bring this philosophy to the masses.
Be on the lookout for videos, classes, workshops, and eventually in-person gatherings.
The Soul Evolution Collaborative is supported and made possible by people like you, If you feel called to pay it forward like those who have come before us, feel free to donate by clicking the donate button or visiting soulevolutioncollaborative.org and finding the donate link on our website. As an outreach of the Orlando Center for Spiritual Living, all donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated.
We'll see some of you on Thursday night at 7.
Check out our website for more details on how to join.
Everybody else, we'll see you next week.